I had a request for low sugar granola, and so I make an extremely low sugar granola, but it's low sugar because I can my own cranberry sauce and preserves and all that. Now, what I did was I adjusted it to be made of things that you can buy at the store, which that makes it a lot more doable for the rest of us. So I also did a little bit of research as to why this is different than most traditional granolas, which I love granola. Granola, super tasty. And the only reason I started playing with granola recipes was because of food allergies. Sean could not have honey, maple syrup, or agave nectar, which are three of the most popular binders and sweeteners for granola. When I say binder, I mean what makes your oats and your seeds and whatever else you put into it stick together. So I was like, I'm gonna have to make granola, but I have to figure out what I'm going to put in it. So I want oats for my energy supply. It's gonna be a primary calorie driver. We're gonna add oats. And these are old-fashioned oats. If you have quick oats at home in this size container, you can certainly use those. I just prefer the old-fashioned oats. The difference is, if you look, old-fashioned oats are squished flat. The grain is squished flat, they're rolled. This is what like a giant roller goes over it, and that's why it's called a rolled oat. For a quick oat or an instant oat, like what's in instant oatmeal, they take the rollers and they roll them thinner, and then they run them through a big chopping machine and chop those thinner oats into bits. So it's the same plant, it has the same carbohydrates, it's got the same total amount of fiber, but it's like the initial digestion step has been done, and your body will burn it slightly faster because it's chopped into smaller bits. So your body doesn't have to break it down quite as much. But nutritionally, they're almost identical. So rolled oats, and this is the 42-ounce container, like what you can get at the grocery store. This one's from Walmart, but whatever your grocery store has will work great. Next, I was like, you know what? Oats are great, but if you look at the ingredients, they only have 5 grams of protein per serving. And this is for breakfast. I want to start the day off with not just energy with my carbohydrates, but I want to have protein. Now, for my family, we do not have any nut allergies. If we had nut allergies, we look for a different protein source, right? But for us, I can use something like PB2. And for this amount, I am going to use a half a jar, which should be exactly 8 ounces. So I have my scale over here, and I'm gonna put in 8 ounces of PB2. This is dehydrated, defatted peanut butter. It's not that I'm against all fat. We actually do eat fat in our diet. It's that I'm not crazy about the fat that's in peanuts. I'm not crazy about peanut oil. It's one of the first ones to become unstable with temperature, and it's also one of the first ones to go bad. So yeah, I just prefer the protein in peanuts without the fat. So we buy PB2. So now we have oats for energy, we have PB2 for protein. And I am going to add even more protein. This is the protein powder that our family uses. This is right for us between what our allergies are, and I have a sensitive digestive system, and this works for us. You might find something that works better for you, but I highly encourage you, no matter what you're doing, to read your ingredients and look for sneaky stuff that you don't know what it is that gets stuck in as a filler or an inexpensive sweetener, or there's all kinds of things that manufacturers will put in. Find one that works for you and that you will use, and then make sure that the ingredients you're okay with all of them. So this is vanilla flavor because I don't want chocolate fighting with the flavor of this particular granola. I've done chocolate granola and that's pretty good too, and then I'll use chocolate protein powder. But I'm doing, with this protein powder, 1 scoop is the same as what I would consider to be 1 protein drink serving. I'm gonna do 3 protein drinks worth in here, because this doesn't need to be, it's not meant to be like a protein in a higher ratio than carbohydrates or anything like that. This is simply to add some protein to it, to help build muscles, to start your day with protein, not to make protein be the superstar of this entire breakfast. That's a different goal nutritionally, and it would take a different, but like, you don't want oats. If you're gonna have all protein, oats are not the answer for you. Okay, so I have oats for energy. I've got protein powder and PB2. So if you have a peanut allergy, just put a little more protein powder in it, whatever one works for you, that does not interfere with any allergies that you have. I'm guessing you already know how to do that though, if you've been dealing with an allergy. The other 2 things that I like to stick in for nutritional like awesomeness are chia seeds and flax seeds. But if I put them in like this, they're going to get stuck in everybody's teeth, and I get complaints from the quality control department known as my children. So my solution to this, and to also it has been proven through scientific research that it digests better if you grind them first. So we take them over to my trusty little grinder that we saw when we were making bread. This one happens to be a magic bullet, but there's all sorts of small little, little blenders or food processors that will work fabulous. I'm gonna do a total of a 1/2 cup. I'm using a 1/4 cup measuring cup because I find my 1/2 cup tends to spill all over the place when I'm doing this. So 2 1/4 cups to make a 1/2 cup. And to all the grown-ups watching, I know that sounds a little silly, but I do this with the kids a lot, and this is really great for them to practice their fractions. So I automatically talk through my fractions when I'm doing this. And you put the lid on in such a way it doesn't go flying off. And again with this, just like with the bread, we want it to be almost flour consistency. Okay, see that? It's not perfection, but that will definitely work for our purposes. So let's add the flaxseed, which we're getting a nice healthy fat in it. The omega-3 fats, which are great for your arteries, actually. And as well as fiber and zinc. Chia has a very similar nutritional profile, but, well, they're both seeds. So you get, any seed that you eat is a micronutrient just explosion. You just have to get them in such a way that your body can deal with them. And usually when you eat seeds whole, your digestive tract has a tendency to kind of spit them out whole and not do much with them. So grinding them kind of helps your body deal with them better and releases some of the nutrition so it can become available to you. Okay, and neither flax nor chia has much flavor on their own. They're not like, say a sunflower seed or nuts like walnuts and almonds. Those have flavor in and of themselves, but chia and flax don't taste like really anything. So I always like to hide them in things like granola or bread or different things like that. So here we go. almost done with my dry ingredients. Whenever I am creating something that's somewhat sweet that I don't want to add a lot of sweetener to, cinnamon is an excellent solution. It's very good for you. It's good for your circulatory system, good for your digestive tract, but also it kind of messes with your mind a little bit in that it gives your mind, your taste buds, and then your taste buds connecting to your brain, the idea that you're eating something sweeter than it actually is. So, for those of you that think, I don't like cinnamon, you may want to rethink it simply for the purpose of, oh, well, maybe if I tell myself that this is helping me eat less sugar, then, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. But if you want an actual cinnamon flavor, add another teaspoon or double it, but I would try it with just this right now. It's interesting. You will not taste it as tasting like cinnamon. It simply enhances the overall sweetness. All right, that is all of our dry ingredients. So before I start adding wet ingredients, so what we have here, I'm gonna use the stiffest whisk I have. This one's pretty sturdy, like it doesn't really bend very easily. When I'm dealing with something thick like this, I like a really sturdy whisk. If you don't have a whisk, use a spoon. If you don't have either of those, you can, sometimes I'll just put my gloves on and mix it with my hands. But I find if I whisk together these dry ingredients first, I get an overall, a much better result. And we've seen this Friendly for Ball featured previously. Hi, Tiny. Okay. Generally speaking, this is mixed together. How in the world are we going to get this into something that looks like the granola across from me, which is in lumps? If we can swing the camera around, how are we gonna get this dry mix that looks, like sand into that? Well, we need something liquid and something sticky. The traditional answer for this is a liquid sweetener like honey, maple syrup, agave nectar, or one of those 3 sweeteners combined with melted butter or melted coconut oil, which will work. It will make it stick together. The drawback is if you're choosing to add something like coconut oil or butter, you're adding a lot of fat. I need 4 cups of something fluid and sticky to make this amount of granola stick together. So I did a little bit of math. And to do 4 cups of honey, I would be adding to each serving, I calculated this based on the number of servings in the oatmeal, which would be 30 servings in the oatmeal. So I'm estimating around 30 servings of breakfast granola, which it's kind of the same as breakfast cereal from the box, in that most people have about 2 servings in their breakfast, but this is really filling. So you probably will get 30 servings out of it. We tend to mix it with lower calorie things like rice Chex or Cheerios, a lot less calorically dense, but this is much more nutritious. So the combination makes, for everyone, it works as a really balanced breakfast. Anyway, 30 servings. If you choose to use honey for your 4 cups to make it stick together, you would be adding this much sugar to each bowl of cereal. And this, for each serving. So if you're putting 2 servings in your bowl of cereal, you would be doing 2 of these of added sugar to each serving. Right now, we really have minimal sugar in it. Oats have no sugar. PB2 has a little bit, a very little bit. So a gram per serving. And so this whole thing has about 20 grams of sugar for PB2, which would be, less than a gram of sugar. Right now we are sitting at less than a gram of sugar per serving if there's 30 servings in this bowl. And then we would be adding, if we used honey, 37 grams of sugar to each serving. If we did maple syrup, it's a little bit less. We would be adding, it would be 37 grams of sugar, but an additional 140 calories of just sweetener to each serving of granola, which is really hard on your adrenal glands. It's difficult on your digestive system. It will give you that spike of like, woohoo, and then the crash. So, next option, maple syrup. This one's a little bit better. It would only add 20 grams of sugar per serving, which is this much. And remember, we're getting 30 servings out of this batch of granola. And that would be an additional 91 calories per serving. Okay, again, I wasn't super excited about that. My third option was agave nectar. And again, these are all 3 natural sweeteners, and in small amounts, they are healthy for you, right? They're considered nutritious, they have health benefits. Agave nectar is lower. It would be an additional, the maple syrup was 29 grams of sugar. Agave nectar is only 20 grams of sugar per serving. So this would be like dumping this with each scoop of granola that you take. And that would be, just under 100. So my solution for us, when I do it for our family, I will use maybe applesauce, but typically I will do all cranberry sauce that I've sweetened only with stevia, which means hardly any sugar. It would be you need 2 jars worth essentially, which is 32 ounces of some sort of liquid sweetener flavor binder. And in the cranberry sauce, you would be adding about 2 grams of sugar per serving, which is a half a teaspoon. However, you can't buy cranberry sauce like this, which is why I buy a bunch of cranberries during cranberry season and I make it myself. And I can do videos when it's cranberry season to teach you how to make it yourself. It's not difficult. The trick is cranberry season is only once a year and it's not now. So, solution for you guys at home that have access to grocery stores: unsweetened applesauce, and then I make a no sugar added peach jam, which what I found from my grocery store searching, if you use a low sugar apricot jam, right, or apricot preserves, the low sugar kind, not the kind sweetened with Splenda or aspartame, not the artificial sweetener, no sugar ones. Those are a little bit dangerous, especially if you're planning on heating them up. It has been proven that the chemical compounds used in those artificial sweeteners are unstable when you raise the temperature. So I'm not a fan of those. Anyway, if you do it with the low sugar apricot jam and no sugar added unsweetened applesauce, you will be adding a grand total of 5 grams of sugar per serving, which is just over a teaspoon, which is much easier for your body to deal with than 20 grams per serving, or in the most popular one, honey, 37 grams per serving. This is why I came up with this solution. I'm not trying, again, granola made with honey and maple syrup, it tastes amazing. However, for us, it wasn't a viable option. Number 1, because of allergies, and then number 2, because it gave my kids a big sugar spike, and I don't enjoy them when they have big sugar spikes. So we went with this. So we need to add our sweeteners, and to it, this is optional, but if you are new to cutting sweeteners and sugars out of your diet, this will make everything a lot more palatable to you. We are going to add 1 teaspoon of liquid stevia. 1 teaspoon of liquid stevia is equivalent to 1 cup of sugar in sweetness. It might be slightly sweeter than that, but there are 0 calories. It's a natural product, it's a plant extract. I recommend highly against any powdered stevia products, because if you guys have ever had mint tea, the process for extracting liquid stevia like this is much like making a cup of mint tea. It's it goes directly into a liquid form. So I'm not quite sure what they do when they get this liquid to get it into a powdered crystalline form when there's no sugar to be a crystal. So I'm not a fan. It got the worst aftertaste when they crystallize it. So this is my favorite brand of liquid stevia for cooking. I'm going to add it after I've added one of my bigger jars. And again, I opened jars in one of my other videos, but if you have home canned jars, you take your knife and you take it all the way up the ramp to where it's about as close as it gets to the top of the jar. And then you gently break the seal, pop it out. So this is the applesauce. I made the applesauce. They're from, apples growing on the tree at the top of the hill where we live. But you can buy unsweetened applesauce. That's not a big deal, right? And then, while I have the knife in my hand, I'll do my peach jam, which what you would be using if you're going to the grocery store, low sugar or no sugar added. Peach preserves, if you want strawberry, you can do strawberry, but stay away from ones that have Splenda or NutraSweet added to them. And really try and stay away from added sugar. Okay. So there's our jam. And I really like the preserves and jams that are from, say, peaches or apricots or even raspberries, because they have a lot of flavor per punch. It's not just sweetness, you're getting an additional bite to it. So our 1 teaspoon of liquid stevia. And this stuff is not super cheap, but it goes a long way, because again, 1 teaspoon is a cup of sugar. Okay, so at this point, you could try and mix it with a spoon, but it sticks to the spoon. I get the best results when I put on some of my gloves and then mix it by hand. You're like, that doesn't seem like much liquid, it's never gonna mix, but it does. See, it's grabbing it. All right. And this is one, see, yeah, it's a little bit, I think you're probably getting the picture of why I like to use my hands to mix it, because a spoon, you will miss spots and you'll have dry spots that stay dry when you put it in the oven, and then you have, powder instead of granola. Now, once you get your granola to this point, you can use it for things like energy bites and that type of thing. It works fine. There's nothing, let's see, oats, sometimes flour, it says do not eat raw. Let's see if it says it on the oats. Yeah, you can eat it raw if you want to, I suppose. But this is the base, for people that want to make those little energy bites. There you go, there's an energy bite. But we're gonna go ahead and bake it, which will dehydrate it, right? We're gonna dry all of the liquid from our applesauce and our peach jam. We're gonna dry it right out in the oven. And then we have granola, which lasts for a long time in the cabinet, no refrigeration required. Well, it'll last as long as it takes you to eat it. In my family, that doesn't take super long. But, I wish you could smell it, because the peach, apricot or raspberry, they would also have it, but it's got a good aroma to it. It smells good. Did you know that peaches and apricots are in the rose family? I did not know that until this last fall when I was processing meaning canning a bunch of peaches. And I was like, this tree looks a lot like a rose bush, like a really big rose bush. And so I had to look it up, because I do that. I get curious about things and I have to go look it up and learn about it. But yes, they are one of the largest members of the rose family. Hence, they smell so pretty. And if you've ever smelled a peach tree in the spring when it's blossoming, so nice. So, I'm dividing this between 3 pans because this is all about surface area and surface area exposure to the heat of the oven. A lot like French fries work. So, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not making a cake. But if you get it fairly evenly distributed, and if you see, so I have large chunks, I'm gonna get rid of them. This is not gonna feel nearly as sticky as it would if you made it with, say, honey or agave nectar, because it's sugar that physically makes it sticky, and there's just not nearly as much sugar as you saw from our little demonstration. You know, it's this per serving versus this. So, but it will stick together just fine. You saw the end product at the beginning of our video. Okay, and I set my oven to 350. If you have a convection oven, that's usually around 325. If you have a steam oven, do not use the steam bake feature because we are trying to remove moisture from it. And I typically make granola at night when I can just let it cool in the oven overnight. So I would bake this for about 40 minutes and then just turn the oven off and leave it. Or if I'm just leaving it, I would do probably 35 minutes and then turn off the oven and leave it overnight, and it will be dehydrated by the morning, and I don't have to mess with hot pans or anything. You don't have to do that. That's just me not, not wanting to mess with the hot pans. And I can take a pan of granola directly out of the oven, put it on the table and say, get your granola, and then I don't have to put that pan away because they usually eat it all. It works out well for me. But here we go. These are going into the oven. I feel like this one could use some more. Okay. I'll come back for the third one. I had adjusted my oven to have all 3 racks. And one more. All right, so our granola is going into the oven. I'm setting a timer for 35 minutes. So our granola is a combination of oats for energy, and then you added a couple of protein sources to it, and then I used PB2 and protein powder. And then I also added a couple of seeds for extra nutrition, a little bit of fat, extra fiber, and micronutrients, some minerals and vitamins that those seeds give. And then I used for sweetening it and making it stick, oh, and the cinnamon, don't forget the cinnamon. And then I added my sweeteners to make it stick together and give it extra flavor and sweetness. And that was from fruit sources, being applesauce and jam. So that is my lower sugar granola from scratch. Enjoy. If you, please like it. If you like the video, if you try it and want to post some pictures, I would love to see them. If you have questions, ask them in the comments. All right, thank you.